Minecraft has a lot of effects in it, and there is so many that you may not even know what all of them do, and some of them you can't even get in survival in potion form and only can obtain through certain methods, and there's even little achievements that are related to the potion effects. So today I'll be going over every single potion in Minecraft, what they do, and if you can in survival, how to get them. So with that, let's get started with our first one. We're going to be going in alphabetical order. There's a couple ways to get potions, like from beacons, some entities, or if you're creative, the /effect command. As you can see, I'm going to be going in alphabetical order from absorption to wither. So starting off with absorption, absorption's a pretty simple one. It will give you more hearts, as you can see. This is absorption 2, that's absorption 3 with 6 hearts, and this is absorption 1, which gives you 2 hearts. So yeah, absorption, you get this through golden apples and enchanted golden apples. The next one we have is called Bad Omen. This one is from drinking a ominous bottle, which you can find by killing pillagers, or you can get them in trial chambers. This one turns into 2 others, but on its own it doesn't actually really do anything, but it can be used, and when correctly next to the right things like trial chambers or villages, it can be used to trigger other potion effects that we will go over later. So that's Bad Omen. There's nothing really special about it, but let's move on to the next one. The next effect that we have is called Blindness, and this one's pretty self-explanatory. You can't see very far ahead of you. Now you can only get this one by making specific types of suspicious stew, so you can't actually get it any other way in vanilla. So unless you're drinking a lot of suspicious stew, this one you're probably not going to really experience much. But with that, that's Blindness. You can't see very much. Let's go on to the next one and subscribe. So the next one that we have is called Conduit Power. This one's using a conduit and the structure that goes around a conduit. You can watch a tutorial on that. But this one essentially just gives you some stuff, like when you have the effect, you don't drown or lose your air bubbles. Also, with the effect, you can mine faster, as you can see with this side-by-side very fancy comparison that I'm doing, but that's about it for Conduit Power. It's essentially just haste and water breathing, so let's move on to the next potion effect. So the next effect that we have is called Darkness, and this one's really similar to Blindness, except you can actually see a little bit farther. And yeah, you get this one by summoning the Warden. It is triggered when it's nearby, as you can see, and it just makes the Warden fight a lot scarier, as if ancient cities weren't already dark enough. But that's Darkness. It's just basically Blindness from the Warden. And let's move on to the next one. So yeah, here's the next one. It's called Dolphins Grace, and it allows you to swim faster. So we'll have a side-by-side comparison, since having Depth Starter 3 also affects it. So as we can see, we have nothing, Dolphins Grace 1, and Depth Starter 3. And Dolphins Grace 1. Depth Starter 3 is absurdly fast. As you can see, the Dolphins Grace is just now finishing, and normal, we're not even close to being done with that one yet. Yeah, still going. Wait for it. We're getting there. Now, the only way to get this one's actually from a dolphin, which means you can't just have it sustained while you're moving all over the place. But as you can see, Depth Starter 3 with Dolphins Grace 1 is super duper fun to play with. But with that, you can swim super fast. Let's move on to the next one. So the next that we have is called Fire Resistance, and normally if you jump in lava or just go to the edge of soul sand, you're gonna catch on fire, start taking damage, and if you're on a high enough health, you're gonna die. But with Fire Resistance, you can just jump in lava and not die, which I find is pretty nice. But yeah, that's about it for Fire Res. So yeah, it's also called Fire Res, it's Fire Resistance, but no one says resistance. That's such a long word. Also, you want to make sure you're not still on fire when the potion effect runs out, since you will start burning if it runs out while you're still on fire. But let's move on to the next one. So before we continue, I would just like to thank you for watching this far into the video, and if you've watched this far, then you obviously enjoy it, so you can take a minute to subscribe or check out my Patreon. I have some of my free builds where you can get some of my builds obviously for free, so go check it out. But let's get on with the video. The next effect that we have is called Glowing. This one, as you can probably guess, makes you glow, which is a super cool thing. As you can see, This also has some other purposes, and the only way to get it is by shooting something or getting shocked by a spectral arrow, which can be found in bastions or by trading with piglins. It can also be helpful in PvP. As you can see the outline of an entity through blocks, which is super cool if you're trying to find someone that's hiding. But let's move on to the next one. Now the next one we have is called Haste. The only way to get this one without using commands is through a beacon, which, as you can see, you need the 1 layer to power, or if you want Haste 2, you need all the layers, which is starting with a 9x9 square. And yeah, Haste just essentially lets you mine blocks faster. This is actually the only way to Giga Drill or mine blocks instantly, like stone. So yeah, it's super helpful if you're trying to mine a lot of stone, but that's about it for Haste. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one that we have is called Health Boost, and this is a really cool one where it essentially gives you more hearts, kind of like absorption, but if you still have the effect, you can regenerate the hearts instead of them just disappearing like what absorption does. And it's also pretty cool since you can use it to have stuff like that where you can have a crazy amount of hearts. A lot of servers like Lifesteal, I think, that somehow uses this, and like other servers where you can get more than vanilla hearts. Now the only downside to this is you cannot get this without cheats. It is absolutely impossible to get without cheats. So yeah, you're kind of just limited to absorption, but it does give you more health. And yeah, you can just play it around with it in creative because it's kind of useless in survival. Have you ever wanted to buy your favorite different enchant from a villager, but it's always just too expensive? Well, that's where the effect Hero of the Village comes in. With the effect Hero of the Village, you can lower the prices of emeralds by defeating raids. As you can see with Hero of the Village 1, after defeating 1 raid, is 19 emeralds. And then defeating subsequent raids, you can increase the level to get level 2, which lowers the price more. Level 3, which lowers the price even more. And obviously, to stop it from being completely broken, it is capped out at level 5, which lowers the price significantly from the starting price. But of course, if you're in creative using commands, you can just make everything 1 emerald. Voila! 1 emerald per lure 3. That's pretty dang good. But yeah, that is Hero of the Village. Super duper useful if you're trying to get a lot of enchantments. But let's move on. So the next one that we have is called Hunger, and this is a really cool effect because you know how you usually lose a little bit of hunger when you're doing stuff? This does that, but faster. You just lose hunger faster than you normally do, and it's really, really, really annoying when you're trying to do stuff and you keep losing hunger. I mean, hunger is incredibly slow, so I'm gonna have to eventually get myself a pretty high number. But as you can see, nothing really happens, but it becomes very noticeable over the course of a couple minutes. But I can't just sit here and talk at you for a couple minutes. I only have like 1 minute per potion. Otherwise, this video is going to be a couple hours long, and that's not good. So yeah, this is Hunger. I'm just going to give myself a super high amount so you can really see what it's like. Because as I said earlier, you know, don't want the video to be hours and hours and hours long. And yeah, as you can see, I am losing hunger faster than I usually do, but that is hunger. It's really, really annoying. You just, again, lose hunger, and you can get it from husks and eating rotten flesh, and probably a few other things that I'm not remembering. Okay, so next up we have an effect called Infested. This is a pretty cool one, because whenever you or another mob takes damage, there's a chance for a silverfish to spawn. So let's see if I can get that to happen. There we go, we have silverfish spawning, and there's actually a mechanic where when you do this, you can make it so that the silverfish will infest other nearby blocks around them, causing others to spawn. Since silverfish have a mechanic where they can do that, but that's not really worth it. It was a pretty big craze when this effect was first added, but it's kind of died down since then because, you know, it takes a lot of silverfish, and those are kind of hard to get. So as you can see, yeah, silverfish, it isn't super complicated, but now let's move on to the next effect. And so the next effect that we have is called Instant Damage, and this one's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, it damages you, that's about it, and with no armor on, it almost kills you literally immediately with just instant damage 1. And yeah, it is actually pretty slow. So unlike instant health, which heals you absurdly quickly if you do it for more than 1 second, if you do it for 2 seconds, it still only damages you once. I think if we do this again, you'll notice that it will only damage me once every few seconds. But as you can see, even instant damage 2 is enough to one-shot you. So yeah, it's pretty strong. You can't actually get it in like more than one, but let's move on. The next one that we have is called Instant Health, and it's the exact opposite of instant damage, as you can probably imagine. So if I damage myself a little bit and give myself instant health, you can see I instantly heal. It's self-explanatory. If I give myself a lot of health to heal, you can see it is just regeneration, but a heck of a lot faster. So yeah, that's instant health. It's essentially just super fast regeneration. So if you're trying to give yourself a lot of hearts quickly, just use instant health since it's a lot faster than regen. So let's move on to our next one. And our next one is a pretty cool one, and it's Invisibility. However, it's not foolproof. You can see I still have particles, and when I'm running, you can still see like the running particles that you have, kind of. They're really hard to see, so it's might as well be really invisible. But let's go find a mob, because there's some other cool features that this has. So, also when you're holding an item, it can still be seen. So if you're trying to sneak up on someone, it is not a good idea to hold an item, since seeing a floating sword might make you a little bit suspicious that you're about to be attacked. So it's a great for sneaking up on your friends, and it's also used in Bed Wars to like sneak up on player bases. It is essentially the way to get around without being spotted. However, you still do create sound when you're like climbing vines and like the little tracks you leave, so it's not completely foolproof, and you want to make sure that it doesn't run out while you're using it, since that'd be embarrassing. But here is a hostile mob, so as you can see I can get way closer than I'm usually able to before it actually aggroes to me. I have to basically touch it, and then it does aggro to me. So yeah, that's Invisibility, about it for that potion. Now let's move on to our next effect. Okay, and the next potion effect that we have is called Jump Boost. Jump Boost is a super cool one that, I'll let you guess, lets you jump higher. Big surprise. So here's how high you can jump in normal Minecraft. It is 1 block and 3 snow layers. With Jump Boost 1, you can jump over that. See, look, no Jump Boost, can't jump 4 snow layers, which is 1.5 blocks, which is, you know, kind of awkward, but I can do 3 snow layers. So yeah, that's Jump Boost 1, but if I give myself Jump Boost 1, now I can jump 4 blocks, but not quite, I mean, 1.5 blocks, but you can't quite jump 2. And now if you give yourself Jump Boost 2, you can jump 2 blocks easily, and you can even jump 2.5 blocks, or a full, 2.5 blocks. Now you can also give yourself a absurd number of jump boosts, and just like enter the stratosphere and exit the Minecraft Earth orbit, which is super fun because, yeah, jump boost is just a fun thing that lets you jump higher. There's not really that much to it. But with that, let's move on to our next potion effect, which is also pretty cool. So our next one is Levitation. Levitation's a pretty cool one. As you can probably guess, it levitates you. As you can see, you just float up. But unlike Jump Boost, it does not protect you from fall damage. That's right, with Jump Boost, if you jump 5 blocks up and fall 5 blocks down with Jump Boost, you don't take any fall damage. However, here, if you float up 5 blocks and float, you're gonna take fall damage. So, if you're playing around with shulkers giving you Levitation, you're gonna want to be prepared to do a lot of landing in water or water bucket clutches, because you will need to clutch, otherwise you're gonna go splat and die, and that's not good. So yeah, as you can see, you just float up pretty slowly. That's Levitation 1, that's what you get from the shulkers. But with commands, you can give yourself, shall I say, a higher level, like 50, and you take off like a rocket ship. I don't know why we got that achievement. We didn't get hit with the shulker, but whatever. As you can see, we are zooming towards the sky, and then you, again, have to fall back down, and it's actually slower, I think, than falling. And here's another trick, is if I give myself a ridiculously large level, as you can see, levitation doesn't work in water, but the second I hit the air, I am gone. I am shooting upwards, and will not come back down for a long time. But with that, let's move on to our next effect. So our next potion effect is Luck, and from what I know personally, it doesn't really do that much. So let's give ourselves Luck, and I will give myself a bunch of Ancient City chests with and without the potion effect by using the /loot give command, and see if I see any difference. So with that, let's go to our own Ancient City and see if there is any difference between the two chests. So one of these has Luck and one of them doesn't. So let's check the Luck chest. That's what it looks like. Take a good look at it, and then this is what the no luck chest looks like. Let's take a look at that. I don't see a difference. In fact, the without luck chest looks slightly luckier since we got a golden apple, so I'm not really sure if this does anything. I will put the two side by side, and there really does not seem to be much difference at all. The one on the left is without luck, the one on the right is with luck, and they look almost exactly the same. So I think I can pretty safely say this effect does not do anything, or does not doing anything to a noticeable scale. It might do something very subtle, but if I got that wrong, please let me know in the comments, since I don't really know. And yeah, let's move on to our next effect. So the next effect that we have is called mining fatigue, and this one makes it so you mine slower. This one's coming from Elder Guardians. When you go near them, they will grant you this effect, and it just makes it a pain in the butt to mine, which also sucks since usually ocean monuments where Elder Guardians spawn are also underwater, which meaning mining is already slower. This is great for trapping someone. If you get someone in a large box of obsidian with an Elder Guardian nearby, even if they have an efficiency 5 netherite pickaxe, it's still going to take them like an hour to get out. So this is a super powerful effect, since it can essentially prevent someone from mining out of a very thick, large box. But with that, that is mining fatigue. Now, let's move on to our next effect. And this is a pretty long video, so if you've enjoyed it this far, thank you so much for watching this far into the video, and subscribe, but let's move on now for real. So the next effect that we have is called nausea. And this one's pretty self-explanatory. It makes your screen like swirl around like this. As you can see, it is really, really trippy when it's going, and it kind of hurts your eyes, like, since as you can see, I'm not really looking at that villager, but I am clicking on it, so it makes it really hard to click on things properly and all that stuff. So yeah, nausea, it's a pain in the butt. It is overwhelmingly distorting your, like, vision, but when it runs out, it's fine, and you don't really usually have it for that long in survival. Though beating Minecraft with nausea would be a pretty interesting challenge, because, you know, it would be so trippy and it'd be so hard to aim. But yeah, that's about it for nausea. Now let's move on to our next effect. So our next one is a immensely helpful one, and it is called night vision. Night vision's one that helps you see in the dark, obviously. I don't know if you couldn't get that just off the name, but yeah, it lets you see in the dark when it's nighttime. So yeah, as long as you don't have some sort of full bright mod, which I know a lot of people have full bright mods, like gamma utilities, if you have sodium, because why do full bright texture packs not work with sodium? It drives me insane. So yeah, as you can see, it lets me see in the dark, so if I get rid of it, it's a lot darker, and it's especially useful in caves where it can be extremely dark without any sort of night vision at all. So as you can see, if I give myself night vision and take it away, that's a pretty big difference. It's pretty similar to just gamma. You can use gamma utilities. That's a mod that lets you do it and up the night vision. But yeah, that's night vision. Pretty simple, super helpful. And let's move on to the next effect. So the next effect that we have is called Oozing. Oozing is actually one of the newer effects, and it comes from trial chambers. So if I give it to myself, it's not actually immediately, you won't notice anything, because if I take damage or something like that, absolutely nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. I just have these particles coming out of me, because, you know, oozing particles, yeah, exactly, you probably get it. But yeah, nothing happens when you take damage. Something only happens when you die. So I can take damage as many times as I want, but unless I die, nothing's actually gonna happen. So yeah, let's just set our spawn at one of these houses, and then I'll show you exactly what happens when you die with oozing. So let's go punch this iron golem, because that will definitely kill me pretty quickly. Yep, there we go. And as you can see, there are now slimes there, or it killed them. But yeah, oozing spawns slimes when a mob that has it dies. So let's move on to the next effect. So the next one that we have is called Poisin, and this is a really cool effect that damages the player or whatever it has very slowly if you just have one. But if you have a higher level, it damages you quite a lot faster. And a really unique thing is, you may think I am about to die. However, you'd be wrong, since I won't die. Poison doesn't actually ever kill the player. It's not because I can immediately stop and have a heart, though that is convenient when the poison ran out. But if I give it to myself again, as you can see, it won't ever kill the player. It just leaves them on half of a heart, where they can easily be one-shot by anything in the game. As you can see, even if I regenerate, it still just damages me down to half a heart and leaves me, which is super cool. But now, let's move on to our next potion effect, which is another cool one. And the next effect that we have is called Raid Omen. It's similar to Trial Omen and Bad Omen, meaning that when you give it to yourself, it will spawn a raid. So when you drink a bottle of Bad Omen, if you're in a Trial Chamber, it'll give you Trial Omen. If you're in a village, it will give you Raid Omen. Very simple. And now, it may look like nothing's happening, but in fact, if you wait until the Raid Omen runs out, which is 30 seconds to be precise, it will spawn a raid. As you can see, with the Raid Omen being almost out by now, we're really close. Trust me, I swear. Yeah, almost done. Like 5 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, something like that. A raid will spawn when it runs out. So, as you can see, I just need to drink a bottle. The raid has spawned, and now it should spawn, and we will see it happen. As you can see the raiders in the background over there. So yeah, that's Raid Omen. Now let's move on to the next one. So the next effect that we have is called Regeneration, and this one is essentially just health boost, but a little bit slower. So as you can see, I am just regenerating slightly faster than I would be if I didn't have Regeneration, but that's really all it does. It gives you health back slightly faster. Of course, you can give it a higher level and regenerate faster, but that's not really possible to do without the use of commands. So yeah, Regeneration doesn't do very much, but with that, let's move on to the next potion effect. The next potion we have is called Resistance, and this is one of the most powerful ones in Minecraft. Did I just give myself Resistance 6 for 100 seconds? You can see that I can literally just not take damage. I just fill 50 blocks and I'm completely fine. And you're essentially with the Resistance 6, you're just invincible. You just don't take damage, which is pretty fun. As you can see, this Warden not doing very much to my health right now. I am still at full health. I could probably easily punch it to death just with Resistance 6. Now Resistance 4, that's high as you can get, and you see, I just took 3 hits from the Warden with no armor and didn't die, so that's pretty crazy. So the next effect that we have is called Saturation. Saturation is an effect that essentially, when you have hunger, it essentially is just the opposite of the hunger effect. So if I can get down from this mountain and lose some hunger, I can then demonstrate it to you. So I'm not sure if you can actually get saturation in vanilla Minecraft. I think it might be a creative only command, but as you can see, I've lost a fair bit of my hunger. So now it's time to heal some of it up. As you can see, if I get myself saturation 1-1, you can see I just heal a little bit of health and I get it for more time. It just instantly heals me. Because, yeah, it works super duper fast. But with that's saturation. Now let's move on to the next potion effect. The next effect that we have is called Slow Falling. And as you can probably guess, this one makes you fall more slowly. So, yeah, as you can see, if I give myself the effect and just give it to myself for a little bit, as you can see when I jump off, I will still fall super slowly. It's not like I'm basically hovering. But I will just, like, you know, kind of float down, and when I hit the ground, I won't take any fall damage, which is super helpful, and some people like to use this for, like, reasons, like if they're not good at water bucket clutches, and if I get myself a higher number, it still doesn't do anything. So, yeah, that slow falling, it's a super cool potion effect, but with that, let's move on to our next potion effect. So, the next one that we have for potions is Slowness. Slowness is a potion that, obviously, as you can probably guess, slows you down. Big surprise. But yeah, as you can see, the potion does not prevent fall damage, as I almost just died there. It just slows you down. And when you give yourself at a very, very, very large number of slowness, like 250, it slows you and zooms in a lot, as you can see. And you might be saying, I look like I'm moving pretty normally, because that's because I'm jumping. When I'm not jumping, I'm sprinting right now. I'm not moving. I'm just sprinting and, like, vibing. I'm not really going anywhere anytime soon, ever. So, yeah. With that, now, let's move on to our next potion effect. So, our next potion effect is called Speed, and this one speeds you up. And here's a cool fun fact. If you have anything lower than Speed 2, and starting at Speed 2, it's actually faster just to sprint, not sprint jump, because without speed, sprint jumping is faster than just running, but if you have Speed 3 or higher, I think it's actually faster just to sprint, and also you can give yourself, like, obscenely high levels of speed, and essentially just teleport, which is always very, very fun, because, like, if I decide to go that way, I'm just gonna tap the W on my mouse. You see, I'm zooming. It's completely normal underwater, but yeah, it speeds you up a lot, which is so cool to just mess around with. So yeah, that is this speed effect. Pretty simple, you just speed up, and with large numbers, it doesn't actually help you go up like hills and mountains faster, which kind of sucks, and any sort of precise movement is absolutely impossible. Also stretches your vision, make your FOV super high, but yeah, speed, super fun effect, and you're still fast while crouching. So the next one that we have is called Trial Omen. Trial Omen's an effect that changes how ominous trials in the trial chambers are spawned. So as you can see, this is a normal one, pretty easy. It's just a bunch of husks, so there's more babies, as you can see, but they don't have any gear or anything. You can double crit them with another right sword. Pretty easy to kill. Occasionally one will spawn with like a sword, so like there's an iron sword one. And the gear isn't super good. You can just get like bread, or here I just got a normal trial key. However, an ominous trial, here's the same one, or same type of one, immediately. Enchanted iron sword, half iron armor, crazy, half chain armor with that iron sword. They all have swords. That's a diamond sword over there. So yeah, these are way more difficult and do far more damage than just your normal trials. And they do give you better loot. This one only gave me golden carrots, but you can also get pretty cool stuff like an ominous trial key, and you can use these to get some of the best items in the game, like the heavy core, which you use to make the mace. So yeah, that's a trial chamber. So the next potion that we have is called Unluck, and this one's pretty similar to Luck, except, you know, So yeah, let's just test it out. I'm going to use a method where I give myself, using the /loot command, a bunch of ancient city chests and base it off the amount of enchanted golden apples I get. So I've done them. This is one of the chests. That's the other one. On Luck I got 11, and Luck I got 12 after 50 chests. And because that was so many chests, I feel like that is just a margin of error that's acceptable. So I can pretty confidently say, unless I'm missing what it actually does, Unluck does not, and Luck both do not affect the drops from chests at all. So if they do affect anything, it is definitely not what you get from chests. But with that, now let's move on to our next potion effect. Okay, the next effect that we have is a pretty self-explanatory one, and it is called water breathing. Water breathing is a super useful effect that, as you can probably guess, it helps you breathe underwater. No surprises there. So let's go over to this water in this pretty crazy terrain to go show it off. So as you can see with the effect, I'm not losing the air bubbles as I would normally do when I'm underwater. This is because I have the effect. However, there's another quirk with this effect that happens when it runs out, but we need to wait for it to run out for that to be shown. So as you can see, now it's run out. I'm going to start losing those air bubbles. If I get it, I don't replenish them. So if you get yourself down to one air bubble while like mining underwater and then drink another like water breathing, you should probably get yourself some more air bubbles before you start again. So yeah, let's move on to the next effect. So the next effect that we have is called Weakness. Now weakness is the opposite of strength, as you can probably guess, and this one essentially reduces the amount of damage that you do when hitting a mob. So let's go demonstrate it on our test subject, a pig. So let's grab a diamond sword and let's like dig out a little enclosure. Yeah, pig. Okay, now okay, so without weakness, a critical, I'm too far. Okay, a critical hit without weakness, I one-shot it. Okay, now give myself weakness 1. Critical hit, nothing. 2 critical hits, still alive. 3 critical hits to kill a pig with a diamond sword. And if you give yourself anything over than weakness 1, so right now I have weakness 2, you just cannot deal damage. Which is cool if you want to prevent people from dealing damage in a mini game or something like that, but let's move on. So the next effect that we have is called Weaving. Now Weaving is one that, as you can see, if I give it to myself, it doesn't actually just do anything ambiently. In fact, this effect doesn't do anything ambiently, period. It only affects certain mobs when they die. So let's check that out. So for example, let's say I summon in a spider and give it Weaving. Now if I kill this spider, which will probably should give myself a sword, this will take a while. If I kill it, as you can see, it dies. Now if I kill another one and make sure it has Weaving, I think Weaving ran out that time. Let's kill this one. As you can see, when I kill it and it dies, you gotta wait a second and then cobwebs spawn. So that's what Weaving does. So the next one that we have is called Wind Charged, and this is a pretty interesting one. So if I summon myself a pig and give it the effect, as you can see, when I kill said pig, after it dies, where the body thing landed, it summons a wind charged explosion. Now, this is one of the more unique ones. I think you can only really get it from trial chambers. And yeah, sadly, it doesn't actually apply and go boom in time for you to just straight up kill something on the dot when it explodes. As you can see, if I give myself sharpness 5, if I try and clutch with this, I hit it and then it goes, yeah. So you can't clutch with it, sadly. But other than that, it's a pretty cool thing. And sadly, I don't think adding multipliers to it changes the amount that it, charged wind, whatever, it doesn't. But let's move on to the next one. And our last and final potion effect is called Wither. Wither is very similar to Poisin, except it's actually kind of hard to see how much health you still have left. So I'm going to put up a little helpful arrow to show you exactly where my health is. And when you die, or when you get down to half a heart on Poisin, you usually just sit there and then you don't die. However, for Wither, that's a bit different. So I'll show you when we get down to half a heart. We are on 3 hearts right now, if you can't tell. 2.5, 2, 1.5, 1, half a heart, and then you die. Yeah, it doesn't stop at half a heart. So Wither will kill you, Poisin will not. That's the big difference between the two. But with that, that's all that I have for you guys today. You can give it to you in larger amounts. I typed that, so this is so wrong. Whoops. Yeah, so you can give it to you in very large amounts. It'll speed it up a little bit. But if you guys watched to the end, thank you so much for watching. This was a super long video. But with that, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.